Well, Prime Minister is en route to Ukraine via a luxurious Polish train, Rail Force One, and going to Ukraine capital is seen as a bold move, especially considering the ongoing Russia-Ukraine war. Now, during Modi's visit to Poland day before yesterday, Prime Minister discussed cooperation in defense and trade with Polish Prime Minister and held bilateral meeting with the President as well. Now, before embarking on his journey to Ukraine, Prime Minister reiterated that this is not a time for war. He said that India firmly believes that no problem can be solved on the battlefield and urged for early restoration of peace and stability in the region. Listen to what the Prime Minister said.
यूक्रेन और पश्चिम एशिया में चल रहे संघर्ष हम सभी के लिए गहरी चिंता का विषय है। भारत का यह दृढ़ विश्वास है कि किसी भी समस्या का समाधान रणभूमि में नहीं हो सकता। किसी भी संकट में मासूम लोगों की जान की हानि पूरी मानवता के लिए सबसे बड़ी चुनौती बन गई है। हम शांति और स्थिरता की जल्द से जल्द बहाली के लिए डायलॉग और डिप्लोमेसी का समर्थन करते हैं।
Now, following the Modi talks in Poland, the two sides unveiled a 5-year action plan for the India-Poland strategic partnership, identifying a range of areas including defense, trade, agri-tech, energy, green technologies, infra and pharmaceutical as well as mining for cooperation. Listen in.
निस्संदेह ये इस बात का प्रमाण है कि हमारे दोनों देश के बीच संबंध बेहतर होते जा रहे हैं। ये पूरे क्षेत्र के लिए बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है और ये अतिशयोक्ति नहीं होगी अगर मैं पूरे विश्व को ये कहूँ कि ये जो बेहतर संबंध है पोलैंड और भारत के बीच, ये हमारे लिए बहुत ही महत्वपूर्ण है कि हम अपने जो पारंपरिक अच्छे संबंध हैं पोलैंड और भारत के बीच, इनको मैं रेखांकित करूँ। हमारे देशों के बीच में कोई विवाद नहीं है, कोई संघर्ष नहीं है। हम एक दूसरे को अच्छी तरह से समझते हैं, भौगोलिक दूरी के बावजूद और अलग अलग परंपराओं और इतिहास के बावजूद हम एक दूसरे को अच्छी तरह से समझते हैं.
А візит прем'єр-міністра Моді – це безперечно велика історична подія для України і для всього європейського континенту.
Prime Minister Modi's visit, needless to say, this is a historical event, not just for Ukraine, but for a wider European region.
Це легендарна людина, яка для своєї країни за всі роки свого перебування на посаді прем'єр-міністра зробила неймовірні речі, підняла країну, підняла економіку, дала людям абсолютно іншу якість життя і вивела Індію на 5-те місце в світі за економічним розвитком.
Well, next trip for the Prime Minister will be Ukraine. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be the first Indian Prime Minister to make a Ukraine trip. Modi is visiting Ukraine at the invitation of the President of Ukraine and will share with the Ukrainian leader perspective on a peaceful resolution of the ongoing conflict, and his visit to Kyiv comes nearly 6 weeks after his high-profile trip to Moscow. Now, India has maintained a very clear and consistent position that diplomacy and dialogue can only resolve the conflict and which can lead to enduring peace. Listen in. Well, before going to that, let me go across to my colleague Rishabh, who joins us live on the broadcast. Rishabh, before going to Ukraine, Prime Minister has given a very strong message of Yudh Nahi Shanti. He said that this is not an era of war. Give us more details.
Well, definitely, if it was Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who would be reaching here in Kyiv in some time from now, in Warsaw, standing next to the Polish Prime Minister. Prime Minister Narendra Modi was very clear that this is not an era of war, and these solutions cannot be found on battlefields. Diplomacy and dialogue is the only way forward. This is something that India has been advocating. India has been saying that any war, any conflict is cause of concern, be it in Ukraine or in West Asia as well. But, Prime Minister also spoke about a host of things in Warsaw, but definitely peace in this region is something that the Prime Minister or his Polish counterpart both said is very, very necessary.
Well, so the next stop for the Prime Minister will be Ukraine, Rishabh, and this is the first trip by the Prime Minister to Ukraine since its independence in 1991. Tell our viewers about the significance of this trip and also what is lined up there in Ukraine.
More than significant, this is a very symbolic trip by an Indian Prime Minister who is visiting Ukraine. No Indian Prime Minister has ever visited Ukraine since it became independent in 1991, and also in the war between Russia and Ukraine. The way Prime Minister Modi has decided to reach Ukraine is something that everyone is looking at. Local politicians, members of parliament in Ukraine believe that this will symbolize strength for Ukraine as well. What the outcomes would be, how the leaders would meet, what they will discuss, all this remains on the question mark right now. But yes, we can confirm to our viewers the Prime Minister would be reaching in some time to Kyiv.
Well, so it remains to be seen when Prime Minister arrives in Ukraine, but this is definitely going to be a very significant visit of the Prime Minister to this region. Thanking Rishabh for all these updates. We'll keep coming back to you for more on this. With this, we're slipping into a short break. You're watching Times Now.